Hello, I'm Finlay and you're watching the Run For It YouTube channel. In this episode, we're going to be talking through the new On running shoes that a lot of runners are eager to learn about, the brand new Cloudmonster 2. Now, these are just about to be released in the UK, but On kindly sent us a pair back in January so we could test them out properly. I've now run just over 400 kilometres in these, which is why the upper doesn't look quite as white as it did at the start. We're going to talk through what's changed, how they feel to run in, and what they're best suited to. So hope you enjoy. So what's changed in the Cloudmonster 2 then? Well, even though they still look like the Cloudmonster and quite similar, there's some significant changes to the shoes. If we start with the midsole, there's a new dual density midsole construction. So while the bottom layer of the midsole is still on Helion superfoam cushioning and they still have the oversized CloudTec elements, you can see this new orange material at the top here, and this is On's new bounce board foam, which makes up the top layer of the midsole, and that's designed to provide a slightly softer underfoot sensation while still delivering amazing energy return. There's also a new nylon blend Speedboard that runs the entire length of the midsole. It's sandwiched right in the middle of the two foams. You can't see it anymore because the bottom of the midsole is now closed off, but that Speedboard is obviously designed to improve propulsion and aid that forward rolling sensation. There's also a new traction rubber on the outsole, which is designed to promote more durability and improve grip in both wet and dry conditions. And finally, there's some changes to the upper as well. So a new engineered mesh and lining materials are designed to promote better comfort. There's some adjustments to the eye stays to offer better midfoot lockdown, and the upper features more recycled content. So all in all, the new Cloudmonster 2 are designed to deliver more cushioning and more rebound than before. Let's find out if that's the case. How do they feel to run in then? Well, as mentioned, I've run just over 400 kilometres in them, so I've had a really good chance to test them out properly over a range of paces and distances. That includes easy effort runs around 5 minute a kilometre pace, all the way down to some steadier to tempo efforts at under 4 minute a kilometre pace. And one thing I would say with the midsole is that it really softens up after you've run about 15 to 20 miles, and then probably closer to 20 miles. So don't be put off if when you try on the new Cloudmonster 2 that you think they feel a little bit more responsive or firmer than what you're maybe expecting. So the best way to describe the Cloudmonster 2 midsole is spring-like, in contrast to models such as the Cloud Eclipse, which offer an ultra-smooth underfoot sensation. The Cloudmonster 2 just feel more propulsive and livelier under your feet. And don't get me wrong, the midsole still feels very fluid to run in. It's just they offer such a springier sensation than other max cushioned running shoes. So for example, models such as the Bondi might feel similar to the Cloudmonster 2 at slower speeds, but models such as the Bondi just lack the responsiveness that the Cloudmonster offer to feel better at those steadier paces. So this means that the cushioning feels great over a range of paces and distances. If you're running slow and easy, it feels really comfortable and protective, particularly if you're a heel striker. If you do decide to inject a little bit more pace into your runs and you're moving along at steadier effort, the midsole responds really well to that. And it's worth pointing out that that high stack cushioning coupled with that full length Speedboard definitely makes it easier to maintain that pace. It also takes a lot of stress off your calf muscles. In this video, you can see how the CloudTec elements collapse in sequence, and that aids the transition from landing to takeoff. Being a prominent heel striker myself, this construction really alleviates a lot of the stress that's going through my feet, going through my ankles, and makes it easier on the legs as a whole. If you do want to pick up the pace even more than that in the Cloudmonster 2 and run at some steadier to tempo efforts, then you can. The midsole feels energetic enough to do that. The only thing that maybe holds it back a little bit is the weight, because the men's weigh 295 grams and the women's weigh 230 grams. But having said that, let's say your legs are a little bit tired and fatigued, but you do want to pick up the pace or maybe do some intervals, do some strides, that's where you'll probably find that the cushioning takes the stress off your muscles, but the propulsion that the midsole delivers helps you maintain those higher intensities. And needless to say, the Cloudmonster 2 are perfectly suited to longer distances, and that's just because The attributes that they possess with the high stack midsole and the propulsive nature of the cushioning lends itself perfectly to helping you cover longer distances. When the inevitable fatigue kicks in later on in a run, you'll be very thankful you have that extra help along the way. And finally, the new dual midsole construction feels incredibly stable under your feet. So it's really impressive what they've achieved here. Some max cushion shoes can feel a bit unstable, particularly when you're going around corners, but you don't have to worry at all about that in the Cloudmonster. They feel great. And couple that with the new traction on the outsole, which delivers great grip in wet conditions. Running in Scotland, it's been pretty much raining every day since January, so I've properly put that to the test and not had any problems at all. Even in some icy conditions, the traction on the bottom has performed really well. In terms of the fit, they feel really spacious in the toe box. This will definitely suit runners who have broader shaped feet. The midfoot area offers really good lockdown. I think that's one of the main benefits of these. If somebody's got broader feet, you can just leave that area looser, whereas if you've got a narrower profile through that midfoot section, then you can just cinch the laces up tighter and it'll lock you in really well. So it should suit a variety of foot shapes and arch heights as well. Additionally, the ankle collar offers great comfort and structure around that area with absolutely no slippage. Now, my only gripe with the upper is this thin tongue design. And while that keeps the weight down, there's been a couple of runs where I've just felt a little bit of lace pressure on the top of my feet, which some padding on the tongue would have stopped happening. But I guess, as I just mentioned, that would add some weight to the shoes. So I really am nitpicking when it comes to the upper. They're pretty flawless in terms of how they feel and how they fit. And probably a good way to end this episode is by finishing with comparing the Cloudmonster 2 back again to the Cloud Eclipse, as these are both On's max cushioned running shoes. And like the Cloud Eclipse, the Cloudmonster 2 feel unequivocally On. And by this, I mean they feel distinctly different from what's on offer from other brands. You would know if you had these on what they were if you were blindfolded. They just feel that distinct under your feet. In the Cloud Eclipse, we have On's Cloud Tech Phase cushioning, which delivers that ultra smooth and plush underfoot sensation, whereas in contrast in the Cloudmonster 2, we have those oversized Cloud Tech elements with the dual density foam construction and the full length Speedboard, and that delivers a more propulsive and livelier ride. So while they're both designed for similar types of running, they do offer contrasting underfoot experiences. And the choice is obviously yours. If you're like me, you might like them both, but for different reasons. However, if you are trying to pick between the two, then our advice would be this. If you are looking for that ultra soft and plush experience under your feet, then you're probably going to want to opt for the Cloud Eclipse. However, if you're looking for that slightly more energetic and responsive sensation, but with lots of cushioning, then you may be going to want to veer towards the Cloudmonster 2. And what I would say is I think the majority of people will find that the Cloudmonster 2 feels much better at those steadier to tempo paced efforts and even the intervals over the Cloud Eclipse. So that's definitely something to factor in when you're thinking about how you're running. I'd also say if you've run in the Cloud Stratus before, that's a good way to think about the Cloudmonsters. These are essentially just a much more cushioned Cloud Stratus 3. The final point that I'd just like to reiterate on the Cloudmonster 2 is just how versatile they are. I know I've made this point already throughout the episode, but there's no doubt that max cushion running shoes help make those easy runs, those slow paced days, much easier, much more comfortable. However, it's very fair to say that a lot of them just lack that responsiveness and that propulsion to feel good when you're running on those steadier effort days. And that is not the case with the Cloudmonster 2. They genuinely feel really good, and it is noticeably easier to maintain your pace in these in comparison to a lot of the other options in that category. And building on that point in a slightly different avenue, there's a lot of runners who just don't get on very well with carbon plated superfoam shoes, and that might be because they just find they're unstable under their feet. And if that's the case, but you want something that is going to feel a bit more propulsive, the Cloudmonster 2 could be an option for you, and you could actually alternate between something like the Cloud Eclipse on your easier days and then use the Cloudmonster 2 for those steadier runs, tempo effort, some intervals, and then ultimately they could be very good marathon racing shoes too. So that's just something to consider when you're thinking about shoe rotation. And that brings me to the end of this On Cloudmonster 2 review. The updates to the second edition are certainly very impressive, and it's very tricky to find any flaws in these. Undoubtedly, there will be some people who don't get on with them, but we're pretty sure a lot of you are going to absolutely love these. Thank you very much for watching this episode. If you did enjoy this, please make sure and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you soon.